1, 2, 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Plutonium Show.
We're so glad to have you with us.
I don't know what that was. Show. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you had a great weekend. Yada, yada, yada. All the pleasantries.
Skip.
Let's get to the point, okay? You guys are here for the topics and not for us. There's a bird outside our balcony, so if I look distracted, I'm trying to make sure it's not pooping, okay? It's gone. It's gone. Alrighty, so on the agenda. Remember how last week we talked about Katy Perry's trademark case and likelihood of confusion and how she ended up winning?
Yep.
And how Meghan should pay attention.
Yeah, Meghan paying attention to anything that isn't the outfit she's wearing.
No, she doesn't even pay attention to that. I promise you.
True.
I promise
true.
you. With all those wrinkles and tags hanging out, no.
Yeah.
Freakish attention to detail, I think not. So there's been an update. There has been an update, which we will cover. That's first on the agenda. Second, by the way, I should say an update with Meghan Markle's trademark, not Katy Perry. That's been.
I was going to say that's interesting.
No, that's been concluded as far as I'm aware. Second, Meghan and Harry's whole initiative of, child safety online and using children as a backdoor to invade all of our privacy and censor us might be becoming a reality.
Ooh, not good.
So we're going to have a discussion about that. And finally, everybody hates Meghan Markle.
About time. I mean, come on, catch up. Are we all on board now?
Yeah, but there's a twist.
Okay.
There's a twist, as there always is. So, on the 26th of November, so only last week, Meghan filed an extension of time for response to office action. So, you know how Harry and David put in the word eludes me now. What is it? Protest? Put in a protest for the trademark of her name due to a high likelihood of confusion with their Royal Riviera line. Now, Meghan had, she's really running out of time. And so now what she's done is she's extended the 3-month, or she's applied for an extension of the 3-month time period she was given to another 3 months, giving her a total of 6 months. I'm not sure if it's restricted just in terms of the Harry and David protest. It might also be to cover all the other issues that she's had, because she's had plenty.
Yeah.
She's had the whole, this is a geographic location, you can't trademark American Riviera. And also she failed to give enough money to cover all of the 19 items that she'd like to trademark, or 19 categories.
What?
Yeah.
What?
They literally told her, you're short $600+.
Not thousands of dollars. $600.
$600+. They only gave enough money for 17 categories or items to be covered or considered in the application. And then also the form they gave initially wasn't even signed.
Well, what on earth? How unorganized can one possibly be?
Freakish attention to detail. Don't forget. So the update, other than this request for an extension, is apparently, now I have to say this is according to Radar Online. I mean, it's a tabloid at the end of the day. They've got an exclusive saying that raging Meghan Markle threatens to sack lawyer Marjorie Norman Witter, who is apparently a top intellectual property lawyer in the US, after she fails to bag simple trademark for posh jelly line. I like how they...
That is such a tabloid headline.
Now, I'm not going to read through the whole article because it just rehashes what I just said.
Yep.
However, being a lawyer, I want to, I suppose, pitch in and give my 2 cents on the whole, is the lawyer responsible for this? Or is it a difficult client? Or is it both? Now, I'm not an intellectual property lawyer. I'm also quite unpracticed outside of the military. So I always like to give that disclaimer. I'm not going to pretend I know everything. Clearly I don't. However, there are some general rules and code of conduct that lawyers abide by and that govern the whole profession that seem to be quite uniform. At least I know America's not a Commonwealth country, but it observes common law and there are some similarities there. First question I have is, I wonder whether it's the same lawyer from Archetypes, because that application failed too.
Interesting. That's a very interesting question.
Yeah. So was it a different lawyer, which would point to Meghan being the common denominator, the problem? But more importantly, some people might be wondering, well, why isn't the lawyer advising her? People say that a lot about Prince Harry and David Sherborne, for instance, with all of his cases. Why isn't the lawyer advising them? The answer is, in general, I don't know these lawyers. I don't know if they're, uppity and pompous and not doing their job properly. But you can advise your client as long as you want until you turn blue in the face. If your client doesn't get it in their heads and insists on you proceeding with something that is likely to fail, you proceed with it, as long as you've given them, at least in Australia, official formal letter of advice. And that's good for you as a lawyer, because if they come back after you later for, let's say things don't go their way and then they want to blame you, you'll have it in writing. No, I told you this would happen and you decided to pursue it anyway.
Yep.
So my gut instinct is that might be what's happening with Meghan. I don't know how much due diligence the lawyers did in terms of researching the database and looking things up, but they could have dropped the ball and they could have been incompetent lawyers. But again, I want to point out this lawyer has been described as a top intellectual property lawyer. So I just don't see how someone at that level of their career would make such a rookie mistake.
Yeah, it seems very suspicious. And my first thoughts were exactly as you said. Meghan Markle doesn't take advice for anyone, especially professionals in their field who have done it for so long, as long as she's been trying to be a celebrity and they've been actually, having a career. So yeah, she's not going to take any advice from anyone. And I think part of the due diligence for lawyers should be, hey, Meghan Markle wants us to represent her. She's not going to listen to a word we say and it's going to tarnish our name. Maybe we shouldn't accept her as a client. That
is interesting, because I think they just see dollar signs. I mean, it's no secret that a lot of lawyers just do it for the money.
Yep.
And they got to do what they got to do to earn a living. But yeah, that's what really interests me. Is it that the lawyer is incompetent, which is a possibility, or Meghan is a difficult client that is not listening to advice and is forcing things to go her way? Now, if she sacks this lawyer, it'll be interesting to see. Will the application then survive?
Yeah.
Was it really the lawyer's fault, or is it just going to end up going nowhere because Meghan is the problem and she's never going to sack herself?
Yeah, we don't have to look at Meghan's relations with other lawyers. We can look at Meghan's relations with literally every other human being on the face of the earth that she's ever been in contact with, because everywhere Meghan goes, there's failure. Every single place she goes. Doesn't matter if she's executive producer on a show. Doesn't matter if she's starring in the show. It doesn't matter where she is. There is failure. So here she is asking a lawyer to represent, and there's failure. I wonder who it could be. Who's got the track record of success? Definitely not her.
That's a fair point. Now, it doesn't look like she's deterred by all this, despite the name being incredibly important, especially for the launch of her upcoming Netflix cook show or whatever the hell show it is, because this is what she's feeding the news now. Meghan Markle set to sparkle. Sorry. She's 43 years old. I'm sorry.
What the hell?
I didn't even finish reading the headline, by the way. In 2025, with cooking, gardening, and entertaining TV comeback brand launches. So Meghan Markle will make her return to public life with a bang in the new year. And this bang is the launch of the Netflix show. And alongside that, this is what the article is saying, will finally, with italics as you can see, come the launch of her much anticipated lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. Now, this is clearly a puff piece. That's not why I'm bringing it up. It's interesting because this is very clearly tied to the trademark case. You can't launch your Netflix show and your brand if you can't even trademark your name.
Yep.
So it's really interesting to see how her brain works. She just doesn't care. When she soft launched it back in March with that crazy Instagram story, clearly she didn't think things through. She was just like, how do I one up the royals, or how do I beat out on... There was this journalist called Richard Eden who writes for the Daily Mail. Apparently he was going to expose her company or say something negative about it and show maybe she wanted to, race him and launch the business before he can do anything about it or say anything about it. So it's all rushed. And I just don't know what she's trying to do. Is it just blind optimism? Is it pure ignorance? What do you think?
I think it's a combination of all of that. I mean, optimism's a bit of a... We all know Meghan Markle. She screams and shouts and yells until she gets her way. And she thinks that's going to work. And it hasn't worked. But it's just funny how she thinks she's telling the news puff pieces that this is going to be my big break. Cool. We've heard it before, as we've discussed on a previous podcast.
In almost every previous podcast.
It's like, oh, now it's going to work. Meghan, the only thing that's going to work is you going away. And she's never going to realize that because she's never going to admit she's the problem. So get another lawyer. You'll still be the problem. Get another streaming brand. You'll still be the problem. It's not going away because you're not going away.
I don't think she's ever going to learn that, but I do know that things are clearly not going her way for someone who's such a control freak. Even here in this article, apparently an insider says that everything's a show. Mm-hmm. And others are saying, no, she's been keeping her cards close to her chest. And I'm just like, no, that's, I'm sorry. That's not Meghan Markle's style, my friend.
That's just, that's... You might as well tell me the sky is green.
Pretty much.
Meghan keeping her cards close to her chest. Meghan, as soon as she gets a card, she says, that's an ace, that's a king, that's a queen. She doesn't know how to play poker.
She'll scream it from the rooftop and leak it to every single publication possible.
Yeah. Look, I've got an ace, everyone. I've got an... No, you don't.
Yeah. Alrighty, second topic. Pretty serious stuff here, Usually it's quite frivolous with Meghan and Harry, but this one has always been serious because it really has the potential to impact all of us, as you all know. The whole child safety online stuff. Now, you all know our thoughts about that. We think that especially when it comes to Meghan and Harry, but really all the elites and the powers that be, it has nary a thing to do with the mental well-being of children because that is not the world we inhabit.
Nope.
No one cares, honestly. I mean, in terms of the elites and those in power, they do not care.
Their children are set. Why would they care about your children?
So there was always an agenda, and this is not a conspiracy theory. Meghan and Harry have been very transparent with their censorship efforts. And so this is their latest bandwagon that they've clung to. Now, we live in Australia. Something potentially troubling, I don't want to catastrophize, has taken place only a couple of days ago. Brand new, fresh news. Australia has banned children under the age of 16 from social media. Now, this is not coming into effect for another 12 months, but the whole idea is social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, potentially even YouTube. I'm not too clear on YouTube because of the educational aspect of YouTube, but all of these mega players in the social media realm will be fined upwards of or up to 50 million. That's
what, 50? How much is that? I don't know. What are those numbers? 50,000 million.
My bad. $50 million. What's that? Sorry, I need to clear my throat. I've had to do it from the very beginning. $50 million, Australian presumably, for not taking reasonable measures to monitor the age of users. I kind of compared it in my mind to how kids are not allowed to access alcohol before a certain age. Yep. And the government enforces that. It's not just up to the parents. The government enforces that. But then, of course, you think about it and you read news and you watch other people talk about it and you start remembering, at least in my case, wait. This might be connected.
Yeah, it very much is.
And we're going to get into a discussion where Zach will weigh in a lot more. I just want to make sure I've got all the points through so we can talk about all of them. It's not the first time this has been done in the world. So in Paris, this surprised me. I honestly didn't have any idea. Last year, there were laws introduced there to prevent kids under the age of 15 from accessing social media platforms. And Emmanuel Macron is now really pushing for the EU to, unify this throughout Europe. And Switzerland has been reporting on it, saying it's about time. The land of kangaroos is what they refer to Australia as, has just accepted a bill and they're, lauding it. Everyone, all the powers that be are very proud of it. Russia has already done something similar because it recognizes Facebook and Instagram to be extremist.
By the way, that's absolutely retaliatory, and it's not because Russia actually cares. They're just trying to come after American companies because American companies are shutting them down. So,
and then the US is in a tough spot because I'm assuming because of the Constitution and all that. They've tried doing it, but now there have been constitutional challenges. For instance, in one state, I just read it here, it's actually been overturned. I can't find it right now. It's so annoying how I'm like, I know where it is, but here in Utah. In Utah, last year, a law was introduced to prevent kids under the age of 18, and it actually passed. But then it was overturned by a federal court. So with the United States, it's interesting to see because of their First Amendment that this is going to be an issue.
Yep.
In general, though, the main question here is to what end and how are you going to enforce it? Take it away.
That is where we have the big crux of the matter. So right now we exist in an internet where we can have anonymity, and a lot of people rely on that anonymity to do all sorts of things, whether it's just a feeling of safety, they don't want their personal information out there for bad actors, or whether they just want to say mean things in the YouTube comments, or whether they just want to go to places of the internet that are not kosher, right? So now we have the idea of our information getting leaked, which happens all the time. There's data breaches almost every day. You sign up to even a shopping company and there's a data breach for it. They've got your email, they've got your password, and that's bad enough. But now how are we going to verify that people are a certain age? Well, as I've been following this, someone said, I forget who he was, but he said, all right, so if we have to verify whether someone is 14, 15, or 16, that means we're using the same verification to know if they're 50. And that's profiling.
Oh, this is the members of parliament, right?
That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah, I'll try to put in the clip in the podcast, actually, because this is at government level in Australia. You can hear the opposition, going, how far is this going to go for you to verify the ages of these children? What about the adults?
If there's going to be age verification, everybody is going to have to go through an age verification process, won't they?
Yes.
Yes.
So this isn't just about the privacy or collecting data about kids. This is literally everybody accessing social media. That's how it has to work, isn't it?
Now we have to, for Americans, I guess it will be a social security number or an official government ID.
Well, some people are saying even face recognition, which is also an invasion of our privacy.
So once we cross that line, just because we're not putting the responsibility back on parents to monitor their children's activities, which, by the way, we're monitoring them, what they watch, as I've said before, back when they were watching things on TV.
What they eat, what they drink.
Exactly. Where they're going. Hey, don't stay out too late. Those sorts of things. But then as soon as they get a tablet or a MacBook or a phone and they have access to the entire internet, we're like, oh, they can do whatever they want. Maybe that's where we should be going with this, because if we go too far the other way, they have a lot of information, and the more they know about us, the more they try and control us.
This is a concern that a lot of the world shares. Is this actually just an attempt at mass surveillance? Is this an attempt for us to be tracked, for the government to know exactly what hotel you checked into, what restaurant you ate at what time, and who was with you? So again, if this is sounding a little bit conspiratorial, this is not coming from me. We've done some research to present to you the arguments for and against this. The only for really is the fact that kids can now have a life if they're banned from social media.
Yep.
Basically, in closing, this is the manifestation, the reality of what Meghan and Harry have put their weight behind with their whole parents' initiative BS. This is what they want. Now, are we speaking prematurely? Perhaps. Perhaps this is all some form of, I don't want to say fear mongering because we're not doing that, but maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. They haven't implemented the law yet. It seems like they don't even know how they're going to enforce it yet. It seems rushed. But if they figure out a way to protect the rest of us over 16 from their verification process, then whatever. I do think kids need to get off social media and be in the world. They have their whole lives to be on the internet.
Yep.
they should spend their childhood being free and happy and unburdened. Oh my God, Kamala Harris.
Oh my gosh.
And unburdened by what has been, unburdened by the weight of that toxic comparison and jealousy and cyberbullying that comes with social media. Feel free to disagree, by the way. This is a place where you can disagree. You don't have to hate us or unsubscribe just because we think kids don't have a place on social media. If you think they belong there, all power to you. If you're a parent and your kids are very well, are dealing with it in a very healthy way, excellent. Perhaps you can even drop some tips for other people. But let us know what you think about all this. It seems that it's going to be like a wildfire, like a contagion. Now that Australia's really done it. People are referencing Australia as some kind of a herald now of this movement. I'm interested to see if Meghan and Harry up the ante.
Yeah.
Seeing that this initiative has potential now.
It's just so ironic that the thing they were pushing for just happened to be passed in law elsewhere, completely separate to them. They have had no hand in this. There is no success here for them to claim, but it sounds like what they wanted.
I'm going to take this opportunity now, since we're on the topic of censorship and openness and transparency. There is a holiday offer that is available via our partner Ground News. If you go to check.ground.news/Lost Beyond Pluto, you can get 50% off, not 15. That's the usual offer, off a Vantage plan. So if you would like to subscribe to a service that presents to you unbiased news and exposes the political biases and leanings of most publications on the internet, then go ahead and check out the link. It's in the description box. And just in the holiday spirit, everyone loves a discount.
Yep, there are a lot of them around.
Especially one that's for a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day, I think that I couldn't possibly be surprised or shocked at what little support Meghan Markle still has. But sometimes I get proven wrong. So we know that Meghan Markle is incredibly unpopular worldwide. Every single poll, and forget the polls, just look at what people say about her. Look at her reputation. Look at how everyone makes fun of her. And we're going to even reference here a podcast that basically where the host picked her as the most annoying or hateable person in the world. Oh gosh, that's so funny. But it's, with all of that out there, which when 99% of the world feels that way, again, Meghan, you're the common denominator. She still manages to, I don't know, maybe if there are some people that are legitimately, living with their head in the sand and they have no idea, or maybe they're just as bad as she is, or maybe she's paid them off. But I came across this article from The Conversation. It was published at the end of November, called "What's Fueling the Media's Enduring Hate Campaign Against Meghan Markle?" And I was like, I need to click on this. What do you mean? I thought this was settled a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Are you catching up just now?
I don't get it. It's like they're living in 2018 when people were still spinning that whole story of, why do you hate her? She's amazing. So it says earlier this year, the Daily Beast published a story that contained highly derogatory allegations about the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle. This article, by the way, is the one that was published in September, where you had former employees report that she was a demon boss and had psycho moments.
So telling the truth is now derogatory?
Exactly. That's my point. It says the piece was apparently aimed at refuting an earlier story in Us Weekly. Do you remember when I made the Cult of Archwell video, how she dragged all of her employees out, and I imagined it was like a line in the schoolyard. Yeah. Tell them how popular and lovable I am.
If you have to say it. Oh my gosh.
Pretty much. And then I'm not going to read through the whole thing again. I know I say that all the time, but I just want to make myself clear. But this article basically goes on to repeat every single narrative that she and Harry have tried to push, being that the British media is racist, the royal family is racist, everyone who talks about her is racist. And I'm not even kidding. It's ridiculous. The efforts reveal important information about the intersection of media, power, gender, and race. And so this person is apparently a communication scholar. They say they wanted to examine how Meghan Markle has been represented in the media and what other academics have determined in their own research about the coverage of her. We're trying to shed light on the concealed structural issues underlying everyday news. It just sounds like such word salad.
It really is. Again, coming from a Meghan Markle puff piece, just tripping over your words. Make some sense of it. Tell us why we shouldn't hate her, because here's a list of reasons why she's a horrible person. Here's the list of reasons why she's not. You want to argue that?
Yeah, and they never do. They just list the whole old, tired tale. So I'm just going to read the headlines or subheadlines of subtitles of every single problem they think the world has with her. First of all, apparently she was a disruptor in Brexit-era Britain because of her feminist, biracial, and American identity. That's why people hate her. Second of all, racial identity. So they're repeating themselves because you just said that as a Brexit disruptor.
Jeez.
And then there is market-oriented journalism. So they're trying to say essentially that this is, this is what gets the money, clickbait, and as she calls it, hate clicking on things and hate watching. And then once again, repeating themselves because they literally have no points to make. Societal tensions underlying daily news, particularly concerning race and gender.
Right. So because she identifies as a woman of color, and because she's a woman, she can do no wrong. And if you say she does wrong, then you're a racist and a sexist.
Sexist, yep. That is exactly what this article is arguing, that we all hate her because she is a woman of color.
Oh, here's one though. What about all the articles that are praising her? What about the puff pieces? What about all the journalism that's happening that's constantly singing her praises and defending her and pretending that she's not doing anything wrong and, oh, this is her year? And what about all of that? Because we know that 99% of the internet doesn't hate Meghan Markle. She has her supporters in these media organizations, whether she's paying them or not. And I think a lot of people just don't care.
That is the truth, yes.
Ironically, if I didn't care, if I wasn't invested in this and I saw this article and I went, I don't know anything about Meghan Markle, I'm going to read it. And I click on the first link about all the people saying she's a horrible boss and a psycho and all these other things, suddenly I would have a reason to hate her.
It's interesting they even linked that early on in the article. You would have thought they wouldn't have, because I guess they're banking on people not clicking on it.
Yeah.
Because that article is very revealing.
Yeah.
So we have also now a rebuttal. Now it's nothing new, but I thought it was so refreshing because it's from such an unexpected person.
Oh.
And I would have thought someone like him wouldn't even know Meghan Markle from a bar of soap. Mm-hmm. And he's so removed. It's always nice to hear the perspective of someone who was so removed from this topic, because you can argue all of us were kind of in a little bubble, and we have a particularly, I suppose in this instance, you can argue a bit of a limited point of view because we're not seeing things from the outside anymore when it comes to Meghan.
Yeah.
We're in it, right? You will never guess who it is.
I won't.
It's not a famous person, but you'll know because his wife is very famous.
Oh, rightio. Come on.
Okay.
We break the anticipation.
Well, I'm going to tell you who it is first.
Tell me. I want to know.
It's Megyn Kelly's husband.
No way.
Yep.
No way. I would have never seen that.
Doug Brent. So he's like a historian and he has his own podcast as well. And he weighed in on it. So I'm guessing Meghan goes home and, because she's very anti-Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Meghan goes home and chit-chats with him about Meghan Markle because he's switched on. Let's have a listen to what he says, because it just summarizes it and it defeats anyone who says, you're jealous, you're this, you're that. This man doesn't even care. Mm-hmm. But what he has to say is on point. And I think it responds to this article. It's like a debate we've had here on the podcast.
Real problems there. Real hypocrisy there, but nothing can top Meghan Markle. I think everybody else has sort of a a view of the world, and they're at least being true to their view of the world. Her only end is her own self-promotion, and then she's just, everything she does is so false, it drives me insane. And anyone can go under the bus. I mean, her own family members, she has zero forgiveness, zero grace for even her own father, but he's inconvenient now, and so...
Just, so many points.
I know.
Oh, okay.
And
right.
see, that's the difference. The article was regurgitating the same thing of identity politics.
Yeah.
And look at the number of points these two people came up with.
Yep.
In what, a few minutes?
If you don't like someone because of the color of their skin or because of their gender, that's a problem. If you don't like someone because they've done something horrible, that's very different.
That's normal.
That is what we're meant to do.
It's human nature. We don't like bad people.
And what is against our nature is giving people an in or giving them a pass because of the color of their skin or because of their gender. And we shouldn't be doing that either way. I'm going to grab this one. Where does Meghan Markle go when everybody in the world is inconvenient? Because she's running out of people who are convenient to her. Mm-hmm. Where does she go when suddenly no one can give her anything or is willing to give her anything? Because remember, she's looking for people she can step on.
Absolutely.
So that's a big one. And I absolutely agree that there is definitely a psychopathy there.
But I do think there's something extremely cold-blooded, if not sociopathic, in an ability to just cut off family members without a look back. She gave them no grace, while she expects the rest of us to give her nothing but.
Oh, it's a one-way street with her.
One way.
Unbelievable.
I agree, even though, of course, No, I'm done with disclaimers.
No disclaimers.
No more disclaimers.
Not happening.
Not doing it. I really, really liked how Doug opened with... Because the whole segment, I watched the whole thing. They talked about, just really divisive and unlikable characters, mostly in the political realm.
Yeah.
And he says, at least these people have an ideology they fight for.
Yep.
Whether it's right or wrong, they believe in it. And so, yes, we can hate them. Yes, they're evil and bad. But they think what they're doing is right for a bigger purpose, not just for themselves.
Yeah.
And then he says, as for her, there is no cause. There is no end goal. It's just her evil and her greed and her selfishness and her desire to, come out on top.
Yeah.
Everyone else be damned.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her so scary and cold-blooded, as Maureen said, Maureen Callahan from the Daily Mail, and sociopathic. There's nothing there. And I really wanted to include this because it ties in so well with the whole child safety thing online. You can hear it from someone else who's more established and who's more removed from the topic.
I think the thing that grates about her, possibly more than her greed, her race baiting, to me, there's really no there. She's inauthentic, and she loves to graft herself onto causes that, her most recent one with Harry was the evils of social media and the links to suicidality. And I don't believe she cares a single whit about that.
She doesn't care.
Meghan Markle only cares about Meghan Markle.
She doesn't care what happens to your kids, everyone else's kids. She doesn't care about their online safety. Mm-hmm. And so it's so disingenuous how she pretends and that's what people hate.
Yeah.
People really hate fakery. I think we all collectively can say we hate fake people.
We can read it.
Exactly. And fake agendas. And then we also hate how she just treats her family and her in-laws like something at the bottom of her shoe. Mm. How can we sit there and applaud that? Is that the example? She cares about children, right? Despite the fact that she's been accused of bullying herself. Don't forget that irony. Mm-hmm. That one sometimes slips my mind when we talk about child safety online.
I mean, there's so much that slips my mind. I wish I had an index of all the things I could use because we've been talking about it for 116 episodes.
Exactly. She's a bully herself, allegedly. But she says she cares about children. Is the way she behaves a good example for children? I know we touched upon this last week as well. How would she feel if her children retaliated and treated her the way that she's treated her parents? And how she's forced Harry to treat his... Well, I shouldn't say forced. He's an adult. But how she manipulated him and influenced him, I should say, to mistreat his own family. Are those the actions of someone who we should sit down and look up to as a role model? And notice how none of these things that Doug and Maureen mentioned and that we constantly mention have anything to do with her race and her gender.
Yep, you are spot on. I think somewhere in Meghan's head, she still can't believe that people aren't falling for it because she is so up herself. She's so buying her own hype that she just doesn't get why people aren't buying it too. And it's because, well, we can see the pure incarnation of selfish from a mile away.
And evil.
That's what I was going to say.
What?
She's not even these days when people write villains in movies, right, they try and give the villain motives, this sort of that, and we can sense when the villain's kind of like a bit shabby, and it's like she's not even like a badly written villain. She's a badly written villain for a cartoon. She is the cartoon villain that just wants evil for the sake of evil, just wants power for the sake of power. I want to take over the entire galaxy.
Yeah, that's exactly what Doug said. There's no end goal.
Yep.
The end goal is the evil and power itself.
Yep.
So we're going to have to end it there. Running out of time, but I just found that clip so interesting, and I'm so glad I came across it from such an unexpected person as well. So hopefully if anyone's there sitting on the fence going, you guys are just, in your own little echo chamber, we're really not. Unless the whole world is the echo chamber, then perhaps. I have personally tried to give Meghan Markle the benefit of the doubt. I used to like her. It's always I don't always say it anymore actually, but I used to say it a lot. I used to like her until the Oprah interview. Even though the engagement interview set my alarm bells off, I forgot about it because I wasn't invested. And I was like, oh, why do people hate her? This isn't some jealousy, racial, misogynistic, thing that we have going on. Okay. Anything else you want to say? No,
I think we've hit the nail on the head there. And seems like a good place to end it.
Let us know the reasons that you hate Meghan Markle or you dislike her, if hate is too strong of a word for you. I just took it from everybody loves Raymond. So I was like, I might as well everybody hates Meghan.
Oh, that's a classic.
I never watched it. I was too young.
Yeah, I just saw those 90s shows in passing.
Right?
I was too young too. But, I do have a soft spot for them. So.
Me too. Let us know. List down the reasons. There are probably too many to list. So don't feel pressured to list every single reason.
Click read more. All the comments disappear with the list just extending forever.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for joining us.
See you then.